What if your Spring Boot application could react the moment something happened in another system? A customer pays an invoice, a GitHub repository gets a new push, a delivery status it changes, a user cancels his subscription. Your app doesn't need to keep asking, did something happen yet? Instead, the other system taps your app on the shoulder and says, hey, this event just happened. Here are the details. The tap on the shoulder is called a webhook. Here is the problem. If you handle webhooks the wrong way, you can end up with duplicate payments, missed events, fake requests, slow responses, or production bugs that are very painful to debug. So in this video, we are going to build a clean webhook handler in Spring Boot. We will create the endpoint, receive the payload, verify the request, avoid duplicate processing, and return the right response. By the end of this video, you will understand not just how to receive a webhook, but how to handle it like a production-ready backend developer. A webhook is basically an HTTP callback. Instead of your application repeatedly calling another API to check for updates, the external service sends an HTTP request to your application when an event happens. Usually the request is a post request containing the JSON payload. For example, a payment provider might send something like this. Your job is to receive this payload, understand what event happened, verify it is real or not, process it safely, and respond quickly. The webhook flow usually looks like this. An external service sends a post request to your Spring Boot endpoint. Your application reads the request body, then it validates the payloads, then it checks security, usually by verifying a signature header. Then it decides what type of event it is. Then it processes the event, and finally it returns a success response, usually 200 OK or 204 no content. One important rule, your webhook endpoint should respond fast. Many webhook providers will retry the same event if your server takes too long or return an error. So you don't want to perform a slow operation directly inside the request if you can avoid it. In a production system, you might receive the webhook, verify it, save it, send it to the queue, and process it asynchronously. But for this tutorial, we will keep it simple and still follow a good structure. First, we're gonna be starting in our controller. We will be creating a webhook controller. This tells the Spring class to handle HTTP request and return response data directly. Request mapping of webhooks mean all routes in this controller starts with webhooks, and this is our endpoint. The request body annotation tells the Spring to read the JSON body and convert it into a Java object. And the request header let us read the header from a request. In this case, we are reading a fake example header called X webhook signature. Real providers may use different names. Stripe, GitHub, Shopify, and other platforms each have their own signature format. Now let's create our DTO for the request body. This is our request body. This is a flexible structure. We have an event ID, which is very important for avoiding duplicate processing. We have an event type, which tells us what happened. We have timestamp, and we have a data object, which contains event-specific information. For real projects, you may create separate DTOs for different event types, but this structure is good for learning because it shows the general idea. Before we process anything, we should validate that the important fields exist. Then update the controller with add valid annotation to make sure our request body is validated. So if the payload is missing required fields, Spring can reject it before it reaches our business logic. This keeps the service layer cleaner and safe. Now let's move to the real logic into service. This structure is already much better than putting everything inside a controller. The controller receives the HTTP request, the service handles the business logic, and each event type has its own method. So in our service, we're verifying the signature first, we're making sure that the request is not a duplicate, and we're handling each event separately. Why duplicate handling matters? Now let's talk about something very important, idempotency. The word sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. If the same webhook arrives twice, your application shouldn't accidentally perform the same action twice. For example, imagine a payment succeeded, event arrives. Your app gives the user access to a course, but then the webhook provider retries the same event because your server responded slowly. If you do not check duplicates, your app may process the same payment again. That could mean sending duplicate emails, creating duplicate records, updating inventory incorrectly, or triggering business logic twice. This is why Event ID is important. A common strategy is first, check whether this Event ID already exists in your database. If it exists, return success immediately. If it doesn't exist, process the event. Then save the Event ID as processed. For production, you should make this database operation safe against race condition, usually with a unique constraint on the Event ID. Signature validation. Let's talk about security. Your webhook endpoint is public. This means anyone who knows the URL could try to send a fake request to it. So you shouldn't trust the payload just because it reached your server. Most webhook providers solve this with signatures. The provider creates the signatures using the request body and a secret key. Your application has the same secret key. When the request arrives, you calculate the expected signature and compare it with the signature header. Here is a simplified HMAC example, which is hash-based messaging authentication code. The exact implementation depends on the webhook provider. Some providers include timestamp, some sign the raw request body, some use a format like timestamp.signature. So the key lesson is this: do not invent your own verification rules for the real provider. Follow the provider's official webhook documentation exactly. Also, when verifying signature, it is often better to use the raw request body instead of a deserialized object, because even small formatting changes can change the signature. For handling the raw request body, if your provider requires signing the raw body, you can receive the body as a string. Then inside your service, you verify the raw body first. After verification, you can parse it into your DTO using Jackson's object mapper. This approach is common when working with providers that require exact body signatures verification. Webhook responses matter. If your application successfully receives and accepts the webhook, return a 200 response. Usually 200 OK is fine. You can also return 204 no content, but if the request is invalid, return 400 bad request. If the signature is missing or wrong, return 401 unauthorized or 403 forbidden, depending on your API style. But here is the important part: do not return an error after you have already processed the event successfully, because many providers interpret errors as a reason to retry. So your logic should be careful. If it is a duplicate event, return success. If it is an unknown event type, you may still want to return success after logging it, depending on the provider and your business rules. If it is fake or invalid request, reject it. To test locally, you can use curl. If everything is wired correctly, your Spring Boot app should receive the request and print something like this. For testing with real webhook providers, your local machine needs a public URL. This is where tools like ngrok, local tunnel, or Cloudflare tunnel are useful. They expose your local Spring Boot server through a temporary public URL so the provider can send real webhooks event to your machine. Before you use webhooks in production, remember this checklist. Verify the signature, use HTTPS, validate the payload, handle duplicate events with an event ID, respond quickly, log the webhook events carefully. Do not store sensitive payload unless you need them. Use a queue for slow processing, add monitoring and alerts, and keep the webhook secret outside your code, usually in an environment variable or a secrets manager. A production webhook handler is not just an endpoint, it is a small integration system. It needs security, reliability, and observability. So that is how webhooks work in Spring Boot. The main idea is simple: create a post endpoint, receive the payload, verify the request, check for duplicates, process the event, return a fast response. But the difference between a demo and a production webhook is in details: verifying the signature, error handling, idempotency, and logging. Once you understand those details, you can integrate your Spring Boot application with other systems. If this helped you, like the video, subscribe for more videos about backend, and comment below with the webhook provider that you want me to integrate with next. Stripe, GitHub, whatever, you name it. And as always, keep building.